Welcome to Unscripted Coding. Today we're going to talk about summarizing text again. We did a video a few weeks back with Microsoft Azure going through their API, using their cognitive services to summarize a very long article. And even then there were limitations, and I found the results to be just acceptable. So the natural question is, can we use this GPT-3, ChatGPT, what everybody is talking about? And so today we're not going to do a traditional unscripted coding. I'm going to do very little, if any, coding at all. But I wanted to talk about summarizing text, run through somebody else's code, which is Dave Schapp's code, on GitHub, but also talk about the limitations and what we need to think about when we summarize text. So, first of all, what is all of this? If you've been living under a rock, GPT-3 is a natural language processing AI. That means that it takes natural language and responds in natural language. So, more layman's terms, you speak in regular English, it will respond in regular English. So I'll give you an example here. I just asked the chatbot, ChatGPT, which leverages GPT, and said, where do I stay in Tokyo? And it responds in a very English type of manner. It can even do it in a couple other languages, but this is useful to have. The other reason why this is such a huge focus in recent weeks is that Google and Microsoft are really heating up, and they're realizing how important AI is going to be in the world of search engines. So I don't have access to it yet, and apparently if I'm using a private mode browser, I can't use it either. But Bing, Microsoft's search engine, is going to allow this chat type of search instead. So you ask a question, it's going to respond with relevant and new information, as opposed to if you were using Google, where you might ask an English question, but it responds in a list of URLs that may or may not be helpful. So this is going to change everything on the internet, at least as far as Google and Microsoft are concerned. Now, that's natural language processing, and GPT-3 is absolutely amazing. What is worrying is how we are projecting this into what else it can happen. Now, as you know, if you watch a lot of my videos, I work in the legal industry, and so I am always fascinated by contracts. And I hear others talk about how GPT-3 is going to summarize all these contracts, is going to make them simple. And I have no doubt that eventually in the future it's true. But there are severe limitations, not just cost, but just how it works. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So what is this massive limitation? Well, it is tokens. If you look at OpenAI's website, they run GPT-3. There is a limit of 4,097 tokens. It's a bit weird because tokens are counted by characters. It's about 4 characters. And you can think, 2,000 tokens is 1,500 words. Let's see, 1,500 words, 2 pages, is about 5 pages worth. We're taking 2048 because it's roughly half of the 4097. Now, these 4,000 tokens are shared between the prompt and completion. So what you give in and what they respond together can be no more than, let's say, 12 pages, 10 to 12 pages worth of text. Now, this is great for a chatbot. You're never going to have a conversation where one side is saying so much it takes 10, 12 pages. You can have a monologue in a movie and it wouldn't be that long. But if you're starting to talk about writing papers beyond, high school level, if you're talking about contracts, if you're talking about reading and summarizing academic papers, this 4,000... Where'd it go? This 4,000 token limit is huge. Together with your input, you cannot have more than 12 pages worth. So if I have a 10-page academic paper, and that's fairly short, you can only have 2 pages as your summary. If it's 12 pages, you might have a sentence, 2 sentences left for you to summarize. So very, very difficult to live with this. And what's important to note is this isn't an arbitrary limit. It's not imposed by OpenAI to, smoothen things out, give everybody access, or keep costs down, or whatever. If you do a bit of reading into it, it's really how GPT-3 has been trained, has been developed, that there is this token limit. It just hasn't absorbed absolutely long documents, and it isn't designed for long documents to long documents type of transformation. If you want to look into that, there are others. I think T5 Flan gets brought up a lot as a possible model, but GPT-3 is just well polished. It's easy to use, lots of documentation, lots of excitement. So most people, and your results are probably still going to be better with GPT-3. It's just that there is this actual technical limitation to what you can do. Now, I've been talking a while. I wanted to first talk about Dave Schapp's solution here. This is the recursive summarizer, and there are others that are like this. It's not a new idea, but I found that his code was relatively straightforward. The idea is pretty simple. Let's say you have a 20-page document you want to summarize. And let's be generous and say you just want it summarized into one simple paragraph. You are going to look at... You're going to be limited. And I'm going to say 10 pages. These tokens are weirdly calculated. It's not exact because, pages can be short or long. But we're going to say 20-page document, 10 pages. What Recursive Summarize does is it says, let's break down that document. Let's break it down into, say, 5-page chunks. That will make it very easy. You have 5 pages. That's more than enough because in theory, GPT has 10 pages. If you have a 5-page summary, or you have a 5-page document, your summary should be shorter than 5 pages. So you should be well within that limit. You take that and you summarize the first 5 pages. Then you summarize the next 5 pages, then the next 5, then the next 5. What you're going to get is, say, a 12-page summary in total. Then you're going to break that up into 6 pages and 6 pages, or 5, 5, and 2. And then you summarize the first chunk, then the next chunk, then the next chunk, and you combine it, and then you keep summarizing until you hit your desired length. Okay, so let's walk through their code really quickly because I think that always helps. So first of all, GPT-3 completion. This is the command you're going to send to OpenAI. So you get the engine. You probably want to upgrade it to DaVinci 3 now. You have your temperature, P tokens, frequency. These are parameters that OpenAI gives for you to tune your results just a little bit. And max tokens, I think this is max tokens. How many you want to use limits the cost. This is purely the number of retries, but while you're doing it, you're going to create this completion command. And that is one where you're going to ask it to summarize things. So first of all, you're going to have the text. You're going to take out all the spacing. You grab your file name, and then from there you send the prompt and the response. So you can see that you're going to write a command, and you're going to get a response back. You're going to return the text, and then you're going to keep trying this out. I'm starting to think this is... here we go. So, the real logic is over here. You're going to open your input text file. It's going to be long, it's going to be boring, 20-page text. You're going to fix this all up, and then you're going to list it out in various chunks. So each chunk you're going to then you're going to open the prompt and you're going to replace it with what is in the summary. No. No. You're going to open the prompt file, which, let me go back here, is what it's asking to summarize. So write a concise summary of the following. Oops. Okay, so you can adjust the prompt accordingly. You can write, a very short summary or a detailed summary, a concise summary, whatever you may say. So the idea is you're going to keep adjusting that prompt by putting in the text you want to summarize, and it's going to spit it out. You send it out to GPT-3, you're going to save the file, and the idea is each time you're going to shorten that output. You're going to take that output, you're going to put it back into a system over and over until you hit the right size that you're looking for. Anyways, that's not a great explanation. I probably should have re-looked at this document again. But the important thing I wanted to talk about is the limitation to this solution. Good arguments, well-written documents, weave their arguments throughout the text. You're going to have repetition, you're going to have subtleties that cross that page. So having summaries of each chunk and pasting it together is not the best way to go about it. It's like asking, if you've ever gone through university courses, it's like asking your 4 group mates to each look at one chapter and put together a coherent presentation. It kind of works, but it's not going to be a great output. You're going to miss all the connecting pieces. You're going to have something quite disjointed. And if you're able to go through the process several times, it might look less disjointed. The other problem is this separation technique. I think he has, to create the chunks, just really separated it in number of words. You could be cutting in the middle of a very critical sentence, of a very critical phrase, and you're going to lose that text. 10 pages to work with is not a lot. Now, where it's going to be helpful is that a lot of people are building on top of this idea. So I was looking at GPT Index, and it's now called Llama Index now, and it's really trying to simplify this to make this and into more of a standard toolbox for anyone trying to use longer text sizes. Now, I haven't used this, but I imagine the structure, the approach is very much similar, but as you build and abstract it out, you're going to have very good implementations rather than this very basic, very straightforward implementation of chunking out your pieces and summarizing them recursively. While this is great, and while this is trying to create a solution, I think it's only a matter of time before we see these large language models encompass longer and longer texts. Number one, GPT-3 might be slowly adapted so that it can take more and more more and more tokens and encompass longer documents. I just don't see it ever being able to summarize a whole textbook, though. Those are more for other models that are being built. How do you summarize one giant long document to another giant long document? So when you're hearing about the future of AI and when you're playing around with Bing and ChatGPT, and everyone's telling you how the future is going to look, just be a bit skeptical, because there are so many startups trying to sell things they don't really understand yet, and they're using, subpar summarizing techniques to sell you a summarizer. So I can't tell you how many contract summarization tools I've seen that are basically repackaged GPT-3 and don't function very well. And to me, it's always strange because there are other tools that do the job as well. But, you need to be skeptical. You need to evaluate what tools you have available what's best to do the job. So hopefully that is useful. I looked to Azure first. This was a couple weeks ago, the Azure Summarizer. And while it's not perfect, I looked there first because I feel like Microsoft is probably doing something a little more sophisticated than this. And they're probably using more sophisticated tools. And they're probably thinking of things that I am not even beginning to realize. So I'm putting a bit more trust on that, and I'm really hoping that eventually I'll get to use their abstract summarizer rather than just their what is it called, extractive summarizer or something along those lines. But if you haven't seen that video, check it out. I think that gives you another dimension of how long text summarization is going to work in the future with these AI models. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.